All right, now to our first conversation. The illicit economy, particularly the trade in counterfeit goods, is a growing concern in many regions of the world, with Africa being no exception. Counterfeit goods, ranging from medicines and electronics to luxury goods and food products, are increasingly flooding markets across the continent. This underground economy poses severe risks to public health, safety, and the economic stability of African nations. The presence of counterfeit products often leads to loss of consumer confidence, harm to businesses, and a drain on government resources. As a result, combating counterfeit goods and reducing their spread is crucial for the long-term growth and stability of African economies. Well, joining us to unpack this now, we have Ashifi Gogo, who's the CEO of Sproxil, joining me via Zoom. Great to have you on the show.
Great to be on the show. Thank you for inviting us.
Right. So, with the technology, with the amount of technology and technological advancement, we've had so far in the world, it seems combating counterfeit products is still a big issue now. And, some would wonder that, producing these goods are not cheap, but you still have that striving counterfeit market. Talk to me about the drivers right now. Is it that it's just so profitable, to make these counterfeit products?
Yes, it's a combination of the amount of profit that one stands to make, as well as the risk profile, what punishment might come if you're caught, right? And so with counterfeits, some studies have shown that the profit that you can make rivals the profit you can make from the narcotics industry. And then the punishment that you get doesn't get to the same level as what you would get if you were caught producing narcotics, right? So it ends up being a bit of a win-win for people who are thinking about getting into that type of practice.
And looking at the regions now where counterfeits thrive, which regions would you say are the most impacted on the continent?
Well, you can go back to the fundamentals, right? So you're looking for places where you could sell without being caught. And if you're caught, you don't get punished a lot, right? And if you look at that profile and look at countries that need a little bit extra investment in law enforcement, in the legal system, in pharmacovigilance and enforcement, those are the places where counterfeiters effectively can get away more easily. And those are the places that you'll find, by human nature, people gravitating towards. So they tend to be countries where there's a little bit more investment needed in policing and enforcement, in the legal system. And that's just the way I believe the industry thinks about this.
Right, and I want to believe if you're a business and your product is being counterfeited and selling alongside your product, that would definitely impact your business negatively. But we also have on the other side, the consumers are also affected, depending on what type of good that is. But we have consumers that don't mind counterfeit products because it's cheaper and maybe looks like the real thing.
Yes, so there's different kinds of counterfeits, right? There are counterfeits where if you buy the fake product and use it, you stand to face physical harm. There, generally, you would not find consumers willing to harm themselves. But there are also some counterfeits like luxury goods, where, if you get caught with a fake luxury bag, it's not like the end of the world. Your health is not going to plummet. Maybe your social image might take a hit. But I see from our 15 years of experience in this space that there's more interest from the consumer to collude with the counterfeiter by supporting them, by buying the fakes, when the consumer doesn't stand to be physically harmed. And in some cases, even when there's a risk that they'll lose money, there's a little bit more tolerance. When people know that this is a product that could harm their health, that's usually when people do not take compromises.
Right, and talking about health at this point, definitely you wouldn't want a fake drug, at this point. But that is still a major issue at this point. It's hard to spot the fake, from the original when it comes to medicines and drugs. But what kind of progress is being made, so far, in helping consumers, identify fake and original drugs?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And in 2010, we were very fortunate to launch with NAFDAC the mobile authentication service, which is it's come to be known as MAS. These are the scratch off labels that you might see on medicines, where there's a unique number that you can text the code to and get a response saying if it's authentic or fake. It's free in Nigeria. It's been free for the last 15 years. There's over 18 million Nigerians that have used this service to identify if the product is suspicious or authentic. And there's about 5 billion of these codes that we've issued in the last 15 years. So there are ways to address this issue. We've also been working with NAFDAC where if someone scratches the label and sends the code to us and it turns out the number is inauthentic, which our system is designed to catch, we can then call them and ask them, where's the shop? Which shop did you buy it from? Where is it located? Give us directions, describe the shop owner, and then we file a brief via email and send it to NAFDAC so that NAFDAC can use this information in their enforcement activity as well.
Right, and when I'm buying medicines too, I notice those numbers, but I feel I'm guilty of not checking. How much do you think consumers really check in Nigeria? Do they really use those codes?
Yes, they do. As I mentioned, about 18 million Nigerians have used it before, 35 million globally. What usually happens is, as humans who are creatures of habit, if you have a shop that you've been buying from for a long time and you have not felt any bad effects from the medicine that you're buying, you're less inclined to check because you don't worry as much, right? So we find out that people who are checking are people often on chronic medication where they have to buy frequently, and one bad batch can spell quite a disaster for them. People who are buying from locations that are not their usual point of purchase. So you don't trust the shop, you're traveling, you just happen to need an anti-malarial, you go into a shop, you've never been there before, you would usually check, and so on. So there are cases where the risk profile that the consumer is in urges them to check. But often when people are buying from the same shop and they've been shopping there for the last 25 years, and they know the children of the pharmacist and all of that, they tend not to feel like they need to check, even though we advise that you never know, right? Even pharmacists don't always know what they're buying. So it's always a good idea to check.
Right, definitely. I will be checking more, going forward, because when you see a good-looking pharmacy, you'd expect whatever is in there would be, original, but I guess you still need to check, regardless. But talk to me about the role, like international trade agreements and collaborations play in, curbing the flow of counterfeit goods into, African markets.
Yeah, those types of arrangements are key because intelligence sharing, information sharing, these are things that help give the regulators who are enforcing the ability to stay ahead of the counterfeiters, right? If there's intelligence that there's an unusually large shipment that is headed to Nigeria from a manufacturer that doesn't have a history of making such production volume targets, and that's something that can be sent over to NAFDAC for them to keep their eyes peeled at the ports. And as they're sampling, right, you can't check every single medicine that comes to the port, but as they're sampling, maybe they pay a little bit extra attention to this batch because there's something unusual about it, right? So those kinds of collaborations are key. Counterfeits don't know borders. They don't need passports to move around. It actually ends up being the case that the folks who are farther away from the harm may not care as much about the harm that's inflicted, right? If you're sitting in an overseas country and you ship the products, you usually have no idea what's going to happen to the end beneficiaries. And if you don't even follow the news, you probably don't even care.
Right, and definitely, such people, they just care about the profit, that they make, and they're not worried, about the impact on the lives of people that consume these products. But, talk to me about the technological trends you're seeing, technological advancement or innovations you're seeing right now, and, what you're expecting, will come up in this battle in combating, fake and illicit drugs and other goods?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So technology is always moving forward. There's AI now that's doing a great job, with automation. What I would like to do is just let's see where we've come from, right? When mass launched in 2010, we had about a 1 in 5 chance of buying a fake in Nigeria. This is according to the NAFDAC DG's comments at a recent traceability conference. And after about 9 to 10 years, when NAFDAC measured again, it became a 1 in 77 chance, right? So in the span of about 10 years, the odds of buying a fake, it went from 1 in 5 to 1 in 77, right? So that was remarkable progress with some technology-aided tools. The next frontier is to look at full supply chain visibility. So mass helps you with looking at consumers who are checking and verifying, but there's no mass for pharmacists, right? There's no mass for the wholesaler. There's no mass for the warehouse. The check is done by the consumer, but not everyone up the stream. And so with Global Standards 1, right, GS1 is the standards for barcodes that you can use for traceability. This is something that NAFDAC is embracing, which we fully support, that would give more protection for everyone in the chain, right? So the wholesaler that's getting the medicine can feel comfortable. The retailer, the pharmacist getting the medicine can feel comfortable that this came from the right supplier, from the right factory. And then when they give it to the consumer, then that kind of confidence flows through for the consumer to be able to buy. And even if they don't check, there'll be just higher levels of assurance that they are getting something authentic.
Right. I guess everyone in the value chain gets checked, at this point. And we're hoping we can finally, win this battle. So whatever you get, whatever goods or products you're able to buy, you're actually buying the right thing. Well, thank you so much. That was Ashifi Gogo, the CEO at Sproxil. Thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge with us.
Thank you for having us.